crosses on his chest as the rest of these pharaohs. Here, look, there's the octagon, a Templar's cross, here's the sash. And this is what a pharaoh looks like. They got these very long noses. Also the European kings do have that. Go and have a look. So when a descendant of King David and King Solomon is wearing a whole bunch of octagons, Templar's crosses, and pharaonic sashes on his chest, then what are King Solomon and King David? Well, pharaohs, of course, also called the Rav, just as the rest of this worldwide nobility. Yeah, look, here's a picture of the French president Valéry Giscard d'Estaing in the 70s with his ancestor Ramesses the Great, Ramesses II, whom he had come to France and who was the mummy, of course, and at the airport of Bourget, a military airport next to Paris, the mummy was received with military honors by the Republican Guard, and I already gave you the pictures on, I think it was on my channel, Giureh. And I went filming his castle this year. I made a video about this a couple of weeks back. And he was this French president and the friend of the emperor, the African emperor. Well, he was living in a real castle and of a line of real French kings, and so was his wife. Well, you can see the resemblance. It's exactly the same lineage. There's no doubt. Here, look, this is a funny French comparison. The mummy of Ramses II. It gives $3 million by the tourist a year in Egypt, and ours cost us 2.5 million euros a year. So the actual president cost about the same price as the ancestor. You know, I'll let you look at this one in silence. It's the voice of the mummy talking to you. The return of the mummy. So here's the whole deal in Wikipedia about Haile Selassie, the emperor. And he was a member of the Solomonic dynasty. Oh, there it pops out. The Solomonic dynasty, also known as the House of Solomon, was a dynasty of the Ethiopian Empire formed in the 13th century. Its members claim lineal descent from the biblical King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. So, and who traces lineage to Emperor Menelik, the son of King Solomon, and Makeda, the Queen of Sheba. So here is Rastafari in Wikipedia. And here it says, Rastas accord key importance to Haile Selassie, the emperor of Ethiopia between 1930 and 1974. Many regard them as the second coming of Jesus and Jah incarnate. Jah is their name for God, from Yahweh, of course, Yahweh. So it's always the aristocracy who are the holy ones and the saints and the pharaohs, and we are their slaves. And they all got lions like here and with crowns, and they see themselves as gods, really. They behave like gods. That's why Jesus is the Son of God from the house of King David. And this one is out of the house of King Solomon, who was the son of King David. You know, we have to adorn and to worship these pharaohs who think they are gods. They pretend they are gods, raping our children and pushing into endless wars. And now, you know, the whole feudal system coming back. This is why in Germany this pyramid concept of 3 hand sign was found in a tomb of some REPUBLICA pharaonic descendant, using of course the same letter type. It's so simple, people. Just like anywhere else in the world, there are the masters and the slaves. In this case, the jaywalker slaves and the REPUBLICA pharaonic masters, both using the same Hebrew letter type. When Prince Charles, or his mummy, the Queen, writes in English, does that mean they are one of us? No, of course not. So if a Semitic master, also of the pharaonic bloodline, writes in Hebrew, showing Pharaoh's concept of 3, does that mean he's a jaywalker slave? No, of course not. The normal jaywalkers I know through my YouTube videos, they're absolutely disgusted by these sort of things. And they're even more disgusted to find it on a tomb with Hebrew letters on it. I can promise you that. These are not jaywalkers doing these sort of things. These are all of pharaonic descent and Satanists showing their all-seeing eye, the pyramid, where they all come from. And the jaywalkers I know, like in Israel or in Los Angeles, they say that Israel is a fascist state with a Nazi government ruled by the Nazis. And these are jaywalkers in their so-called own countries. You know, it's everywhere the same, wherever you go in the world. Look, some more Nubian pharaohs. And it was the Nubian kings actually who enslaved and chained their own slaves, their own Nubian slaves, you know, and put them in chains to sell them to the slave drivers, who were also of aristocratic descent. The white people never took any slaves or any Nubian slaves, not at all. The white people, the white race, we were slaves, we are still slaves ourselves, you know, of kings and queens in this still very feudal times. Look, and this thing here has a skull of a reptilian on his chest. They're all doing it. Well, I'm gonna stop showing all these pictures. There's so many pictures of it. So you see, these sort of things, it's very old. It's not a new pop culture. It's from Egypt. It's pharaonic, and it's evil. And I don't know any jaywalkers personally who do these sort of things. It's by the ones who built the pyramids, who own the pyramids, and who rule now over us in their Freemason lodges and in their castles. That's why they came up now with the new triangular attack on humanity, and especially in Australia. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce its name, because the machine would recognize the word, and my video would be deleted in Pharaoh's total feudal dictatorship. Just look at the 4th letter in the Greek alphabet. Read its name for yourself and watch the image going with it, which you just saw on the REPUBLICA tombstone, and all these pharaoh pop stars doing. Here it is: 1, 2, 3, 4. A, B, C, D. It's the 4th letter in the Greek alphabet, showing a pyramid with three angles for the concepts of 4 and 3, making the 7 the holy number of the pyramid. So it's the fourth letter for the concept of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it has 3 angles or 3 sides for the concept of 3. Altogether making 7, the holy number of the pyramid. Saying to all their pharaonic Freemason descendants, square and compass. And the thing they call the G.I.U.R.E.H, here it says, the G.I.U.R.E.H Rite Royal Ark Triple Tau Apron Freemason Masonic label. So this is the triple tau, you see, the T, the tau, triple, because the tau in itself, it has a square in it, and it's a concept of 4, and there are 3 of them for the concept of 3. And it's all, I can't say the name, it's all this form, what all the pop stars do, and what you found on the REPúBLICA tombstone. Here, it's all over, it's everywhere, everywhere. My whole damn page is full of it. So with that new bug war attack variety, all royals and Freemasons know the whodunit part of the Pyramid War and Pharaoh's curse. You breathing in the mummy's dust. As JFK said, they're all hiding in secrecy, using scientific operations for their guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. And explain your kids watching Harry Potter what the Deathly Hallows really means. That it says square and compass of that death cult with their skull and bones, so therefore the name Deathly Hallows. And that all of them show the Deathly Hallows, meaning your death. And here it says Virtus junxit mors non separabit, which is Latin, and it means, it says here, what virtue hath joined, death shall not cast asunder. A phrase this secret organization has stolen out of the Bible, where the original phrase was, therefore, what God hath joined together, let not man put asunder. So the Freemasons just replaced the words God and man with virtue and death, because this secret brotherhood of perverts, pink list killers, and Satanists who come out of the Satanist Knights Templars wants to destroy the family so they can get hold of the children and turn them in something else than just a natural man or just a natural woman. Hello, it says, hello means a saint or holy person. It says a saint or holy person. And deathly means causing death, like Pharaoh holding humanity in a deathly grasp. It says deathly, it means relating to or causing death. Eh? So YouTube, why are you now with your protective child service, and you can't, you can't show any children, and just another pretext to take off videos. But with Harry Potter you have no problem, eh? So all these things like causing death, and is that any problem with the Harry Potter for our children, eh? Is that not a problem, YouTube? Do you hear me? The holy man and his deathly ways, as in Deathly Hallows, is the one being honored in a Freemason lodge the all-seeing eye of the Horus matrix. Well, you can all see the all-seeing eye here, can't you now? It's staring right at you. Here it says HP, which is not a computer, but it means Harry Potter. Here's the all-seeing eye, and the concept of three. Okay? And it looks like a snake's eye, like the one Pharaoh is having on his head, like at the mask of Tutankhamun. It's a snake's eye, the eye of a reptile. Go on, you go buy that lovely t-shirt for your child, or even more appropriate, a hoodie like this. It's the same anywhere in the world, people. And the jaywalkers make no exception. They are slaves and pharaonic masters. And the jaywalkers, together with the Nubians, were the first slaves of Pharaoh. Only some of the jaywalker women made it into Pharaoh's court because of the beautiful jaywalker chicks Pharaoh digged. This is the same story, the same thing going on, you know, as today's aristocracy, Prince Philip and all the womanizers, the royal womanizers, and well, they're still doing the same thing, or just like King David, another womanizer, another pharaoh, same thing still going on today and throughout history. Now look, Ramses the second, in fact, had over 200 wives. Now it's the same thing. King David, the pharaohs, Prince Andrew, the whole lot of them, eh? And the harems of Egyptian pharaohs were heavily dependent on the pharaoh himself and how prosperous Egypt was during his reign. The pharaoh Amenhotep III, for example, had many wives, including many foreign wives, and potentially many hundreds of women in his harem. And Ramses II, that was the guy I just showed you, the mummy. He looked exactly like the French president, you know, his descendant. And Amenhotep was specially known for strengthening Egypt not through conquest, but through diplomacy. His plan was simple. Since he had a surplus of gold and wanted to play nice with the rulers of various other super civilizations of the time, he would essentially trade various foreign leaders gold in exchange for their daughters, hand in marriage. These foreign princesses did not come to him alone, however. They each came with retinues of chamber maidens, female servants, and ladies in waiting, who would eventually serve as members of Amenhotep III's harem. Well, etc., etc. Yeah, another 370. Oh, I go on. Yeah, the first example of this was known from commemorative stone scarabs that spoke of his engagement to a foreign princess named Giureh, who brought with her 317 women. What a big party, eh? One for each day in the year. Amenhotep III married countless other foreign women, so it can be assumed that these other young girls brought at least many dozens of female servants with them. And this is why we have the first right. We got the first right in Europe, raping our women in the castle. Apparently the European women in the beginning, well, they didn't want to do this. So they had to rape and find a law to do it, you know. They used prime noctis, the first right, le droit de cuissage, as they call it in French. Still the same thing, over and over again, like King David, Prince Andrew, and the whole lot of them, these royal rapists and pharaonic womanizers. Many jaywalker slaves of Pharaoh write me mails thanking me for me telling them a part of their own jaywalker history. like my friend here, Rabbi Moshe from America, and many others from Israel and all over the world. This is what he wrote me on May 6th, 2021. And I'm very proud of this, that an intelligent man like Rabbi Moshe Perry, that he wrote me this. So he wrote me, I've been hunting for these pharaonic Swiss Nazi slime for 25 years and never came across your work until last week, when I was pursuing again the Priory of Sion in relationship to the probable authorship of the protocols framing we Jews for all of their vicious crimes against humanity. It's not true that the Jews won't help you. I'm an Orthodox rabbi in Los Angeles and I will help you. Problem with us is we are too timid and trusting of the powers that be, whom I call the slime that is, or just the slime for short. We just don't know any of this. We believe the lie that all conspiracies are hoaxes, shams, and sheer lunacy. But I, for one, immediately recognized the truth of your story and how it answers all of my outstanding, ongoing questions which have persisted for many years until now, and how it is making it possible for me finally at long last to connect all the dots on all the various thread lines of evil being perpetrated against us, against the whole world, not just against we Jews for the past 2,000 years. Thank you for that, Rabbi Moshe. I'm very proud of receiving this mail from an intelligent guy like yourself. People, I tell you, the jaywalkers, in spite of their numerous holy books, don't know everything about their own history, just like all the other slave peoples of this earth, by the way. This means the normal, simple jaywalkers are not the ones in control of everything on this planet, since they are desperately looking for answers themselves, just like the rest of us. As it should become evidently clear out of this next mail of Rabbi Moshe Perry from the US, that the jaywalkers are not the masters of the world, as Nazi Templars and Muslims try to convince us into. And for me, I find it absolutely fascinating how a rabbi recapitulates my information in his own words and out of his own world of being an Orthodox rabbi. Well, maybe Hross will end up too in one of those impressive looking thick jaywalker books, hey? So I'll read it out for you. The Shemite plot begun by Nimrod, followed by Mitzrayim, it's Egypt, and Canaan. Now here's the whole sordid, sick plan they have operated under, never veering from it for over 4,000 years, since a couple hundred years after the great flood of Noah, when the Shemite clan, led by King Nimrod, turned against their brethren Shem and Japhet and devised a mechanism by which to conquer, enslave and rule over the entire earth, undetected until they could find a way to eliminate everyone, not them, and then have the entire earth to themselves without even God being able to stop them. They thought they had this won several times in history before, like at the Tower of Babel, but they failed. But here's the point. They have never given up, no matter how many times their satanic machinations were foiled, and now, as a result, 4,000 years later, they are on the verge of total victory via their evil, I call it pharaohs poison. Well, you can read what it is. I can't pronounce it because of the machine, people. There's more, but this will do. This tract in this video reads similar to the protocols of the Elders of Zion, whom my good friend Dr. Hross has proven was written by the Priory of Sion in Switzerland, in the town of Sion. The Priory are or were the spiritual and political head of the Knights Templar. They are not Europeans and were never Christians, only pretended to be. They're all Pharaonic Egyptians who invaded France during the late Roman Empire in the year 300. They also came down north from Norway and may have formed the original feared, dreaded and loathed Vikings. In any event, these two entities built up all of Europe, all the castles and cathedrals. They even came to control the church. They comprised the entirety of the royal and nobility families of the world. To a man and a woman, they were all members of the Nazi Party. They own everything via their banks and fascist corporations. Before the jig was up in France, they secretly slipped away and established themselves in Switzerland, took the place over and declared a state in August of 1291. They have ruled from there ever since, and they are now about to close down and effectively end human history as we know it, unless we find a way to stop them. Truth out. Rabbi Moshe Perry, Los Angeles, America. Thanks, bro. Fascinating. And well, Rabbi Moshe doesn't even know that I'm quoting his mail here in my video here, so I hope he likes it. I hope he's not against it, but I guess he's not. He's a good guy. And you can see, you know, the jaywalkers too, they're desperately looking for answers, because the moment in time in human history is sort of desperate. So we should all team up together and forget the old quarrels now. The jaywalker diaspora did not happen because some invisible entity in the sky said, "You jaywalkers were disobedient to me, and you must go now." No, not at all. The answer is far more simpler. The Romans 2000 years ago were genociding the jaywalkers, just as those Romans did with the Europeans. Only the jaywalkers said to themselves, "Well, let's go somewhere else before the Romans kill us all," which they eventually did 2000 years later, when the Romans called themselves Nazis, as all these attacks on humanity comes from Pharaoh and the pharaonic elite, whether it be the Romans, the Templars, the Nazis, American crimes against humanity, you name it. So all of a sudden, the pharaonic elite of the Roman province of Judea had no more slaves, as the jaywalker slaves had all hit the road, either going to Spain, the Sephardic ones, to Eastern Europe and Germany, the Ashkenazi ones, or going to other places in the Middle East, the Mizrahim ones. So here you can see it. It all started like in this area, you know, in this era, sorry, in the 1st century, when Jerusalem was attacked by the Romans in the year 70. So these were the Mizrahim going to the other Middle Eastern places, like here too. These probably are the Ashkenazi going to the east, and these the Sephardic ones going to Spain, and all this. So in fact the name jaywalker is quite a good name, because they didn't want to walk where they were supposed to walk. So here you can read it one more time. It was the Bar Kokhba revolt, and many historians date this as the official start of the Jewish diaspora. And they didn't come, you know, to take over control over the Europeans as the Nazis and the Muslims say. No, no. They just ran away because the Romans were killing them. And this Bar Kokhba revolt was, I think, in the year 130 or something. But it was during the Roman invasion. So it was because of the Roman attacks and the Roman genocides that these people, they just left, you know, which was a intelligent move, you know. It's a intelligent jaywalker move, and not walk on the pedestrian crossing, but somewhere else, like, you know, and be a jaywalker. Very intelligent, good move. And with this, Zionism was born by the pharaonic elite of Judea, trying to get their runaway slaves back to Judea, or Zion, as they called it. So you see, the Nubians, who always claim having been enslaved by the white man, white man was enslaved himself. So if white man was enslaved themselves, then who was the slave driver? Have you ever thought about that, huh? Well, it was the aristocracy of Pharaoh ruling over the Roman Empire, where no less than 1/3 of its white population were slaves. You can read it here. 1/3 of the population were slaves, and they were white. So who's the slave driver? Or this here. It's not us, the white race, behind this all. And I'll prove it to you. I already have proven it to you. In the middle there's a square, and the circle around it represents the compass. So it says square and compass. And as the Freemasons come out of the Knights Templars of Pharaoh's nobility with their base Swaziland, so therefore the Swiss flag in the logo of the Ku Klux Klan. Because the big force behind the screens and behind Albert Pike was the Swiss Phileas Walda, which I explain in this video here. So go watch it if you want to know it, because I'm not going to repeat it all on my channel here. But it's difficult to find. If you put the title, it won't even pop up out, you know, probably, as I'm blacklisted. But try it, and otherwise it's on this channel here. Even all the slave ships belonged to the Swiss, because the Knights Templars had and still have a huge fleet, controlling all the seas. And I give you all the Swiss names of those Swiss slavery ship owners in this video here. So I made it in 2016. I got a couple of views on this channel here. So here's the title, and here you can find it. If you don't find it, like punching in the title, then just scroll down. Go watch it. And of course this video here, which I made 10 years ago, you all see, you know, the Swiss flag. It's the same as the logo of the Ku Klux Klan. There you go, there's the title. I made it here 10 years ago, in 2012, for almost 10 years. Well, in 6 months it will be 10 years then. Look, here you can see Lord Balfour. And it was Pharaoh's nobility in 1917, England, trying to get their jaywalker runaway slaves back through the Balfour Declaration by the aristocrat Lord Balfour, born in a castle and descendant of dukes, marquesses, and earls. And when I tried to find back the list of members of the Order of the Garter and tried to find Lord Arthur Balfour in it, which I've seen, and I filmed it in my last video, the Nobility World Wars, well, very mysteriously, it wasn't there anymore. Yeah, you can see that here. Well, it was somewhere all the way down. No, you don't see it yet. Oh, look. The whole crest has been taken out here. You know, here. The coat of arms of current knights and ladies of the guard. I think this is where I watched it, where I found it. Oh no, here it was. Yeah, here it was. List of current knights and lady of the guard. Well, you know, it's gone. There's just a few left, no pictures, nothing. It was very complete. It's gone. Oh, they took it out, you know. Somebody took it out. And be careful, people. They're working on it to make my video disappear. The Nobility World Wars. So you better save it and put it in the ground and make copies because they're working on it. So I had to click on my last video and try to find it for you. So here at 2 hours and 43 minutes and 30 seconds, there he is, Arthur Balfour, number 865, and he became a member of the Order of the Garter in 1922. He even became the Prime Minister, the Earl of Balfour, you know, a pharaoh, yeah? So the Balfour Declaration was made by Pharaoh, and you have to think about it, you know. The jaywalkers, you know, they didn't have any say in this, you know, nothing at all, you know. Look here. Yeah, the Nobility World Wars on this channel here, so you can find it there. So it's still there, eh? But they're trying to take it off. That's quite clear now. And it says, "Let's storm the castle." So yeah, it's still here on this in this video, but they're trying to make it disappear. So you better save it for our descendants. Those bad things are coming up, people. You better save these things. I can't do it, you know. I continue to put my energy in making more videos. You have to do this. Copy it, spread it all over, like spread it like a peanut butter sandwich, or your ladies, well, no, I'm not going to say that. So you spread it and hide it and save it because they're working on it. There he is, Lord Balfour, the first Earl of Balfour. So he was a pharaoh, and that's very important. It is the aristocracy. So the Balfour Declaration about, you know, was a public statement issued by the British government in 1917 during the First World War, announcing support for the establishment of a national home for the jaywalker people in Palestine, then an Ottoman region with a small minority of jaywalkers. So it says here it was the British government that decided over the jaywalker people. And of the British government, they're all aristocrats, of course. We're all pharaohs, so they decided it all. And what I wanted to show you, oh here, look. He also suffered, here in blue, he also suffered from public anger at the later stages of the Boer War. Counter-insurgency warfare characterized as methods of barbarism. Well, they just don't want to say it, you know, the English, that they murdered 28,000, you know, white Boer Christian children, defenseless children. They just don't want to pronounce it. And especially, you know, if, so he was behind it as well, you know. The guy was a butcher, like the entire aristocracy. Look, this is why he was born. Whittingham House. It's a bloody castle. Look at this pharaonic thing here with 4 pillars. Oh yeah, it's 4 pillars for the concept of four. That's us, the people, holding it all together, like we are the pillars of them. And here's the concept of 3. You know, this thing all the pop stars are doing, eh? Find it everywhere on the fronts of houses and palaces. I don't know really what it says here. Interesting. They got a nice sunroof whenever there is sun at all in Britain. Yeah. So this was not a normal person. You know, this is the upper class, high aristocracy. You know. Of course, he must have been, you know, otherwise you don't become the Prime Minister of the United Kingdoms. It's impossible. So, you know, look. He, his father was a Scottish MP, Member of Parliament. Oh, look, also his mother, a member of the Cecil family. She's from the Marquess of Salisbury. Yeah, look. And look, they got the Order of the Garter in their coat of arms, you see. So it's been running in the family for a long time. And it's the Earl of Salisbury, the Marquess of Salisbury. His godfather was the Duke of Wellington. Oh, there you go. You know. So I don't see any jaywalkers here. Not even a Rothschild or Rothschild, as you guys call it. There's nothing to do with the child. Well, they want to get after our children, though. Okay. Now you can read it all yourself, but what I wanted to tell you or show you, you know, he did a lot of crimes against humanity all over. It's the British nobility, even against their own sort of British people. They were. It's all one crime against another. You know, one crime after another. Sorry. So here he's like the hero. He's the guy who founded Israel. Like, you know. Look, I want to show you his personal coat of arms with the. Oh, there it is. That's what I wanted to show you. Look, that's his Order of the Garter thing. And here, this thing is a square, the black thing. It's 90 degrees, you see, because here it forms another square here with 1, 2, 3, 4, a real square, 4 sort of bubbles here. The bubbles like fitting into the. So it does say, you know, this square for the concept of 4, then there are 3 stars for the concept of 3. So it does say square and compass. And of course it says square and compass, because if you're part of the Oniswaki Malipans, the Order of the Garter, you must be a Freemason, you know. It's not possible otherwise. And then there are 3 sort of, what is it, a ferret. And this is red, of course, for the Old World's Order, where they all come from. And this is probably the coat of this animal. It's a ferret, isn't it? Let's have a look, if it's a ferret or not. So it was an Order of the Garter, and that's what it all has to do with, you know. The pharaohs wanted to have their jaywalker slaves back, you know. And Rothschild, you know, Baron the Rothschild, it all pals with the British nobility. Well, you know, is the jaywalker nobility, who are not jaywalkers. They all are pharaohs, but let's call it jaywalker nobility, just as we have English nobility or French nobility or German nobility. Rothschild you know, he wanted to have his slaves and rule over their slaves, you know, in where they come from, you know, from Zion. So this is the whole reason for Zionism. It's Pharaoh who wanted to run away wetback slaves back, you know, who were quite smart, you know, to just run away. Very smart. So a ferret, eh? 3 ferrets here. Well, let's have a look. A ferret, a ferret, a ferret, a ferret. Well, yeah, it's a ferret. It looks like a ferret. Total ferret, eh? Just gnawing, you know, all our rights away under our feet, just like today. And his equally pharaonic nobility pal of Lord Belfer was the Baron Walter de Rothschild, or Rothschild in English, who wanted the jaywalkers back, because the house of Baron de Rothschild are the pharaohs entitled to rule over Judea and its recalcitrant runaway slaves, those disobedient jaywalkers, not at all being disobedient towards their God, but disobedient towards their nobility masters. And we all know this seal here is the seal of a king. It's the seal of King Solomon, a pharaoh, a king who was of pharaonic descent, as they all are. So this is Wikipedia, the Rothschild family. And look, here's their coat of arms. I know these are pharaohs, people. This is the aristocracy. Otherwise, they wouldn't have a coat of arms, eh? Look at that. All pharaohs. Well, oh, it looks very familiar, doesn't it? So, you know, so I don't have to go and look for if he's a member of the Order of the Garter, do I now? Because here's the symbol of the Order of the Garter, you know. We got the unicorn on one side, Mon Droit, as the Templars, they took their rights, and it's not chained here. So they freed it. You see the unicorn here. And on the other side, Dieu, you know, the divine right of the aristocracy. There's the king. This is the logo of the Order of the Garter. Then there are 3 crowns, which is them, our masters. That's the sign, the concept of 3 for the nobility. Usually there's only, you know, only 1. And here's the seal of Solomon, of course. Here's some. This is the, you know, with tail like this, it is the, I forgot the name. The okay. So the problem was nobody has asked the question, why did the nobility want to have the foundation of the state of Israel? Because apparently the nobility wanted this. Why? Why does nobody answer that question, or you know, ask that question? It's so important, because everybody is so, you know, so on you know, the religious dogmatism. You know, the slaves are divided, my religion is better than yours, and you know, and all this, and I've got a nicer skin and you don't belong here, and all that, you know. And this is exactly what Pharaoh wants, you know, divide and rule. Why nobody asked that question? Why the nobility? But because apparently it is the nobility who founded that state of Israel. Well, the answer is very simple. Because at that moment, for quite a long time, for the last 2000 years, there were pharaohs, nobility, who didn't have a country to rule over anymore. So they found themselves in other countries, and they had to split up and one Rothschild in England, another one in Paris, and another one in Geneva, and another one in Frankfurt. You know, because they didn't have any country anymore to rule over, because the slaves were gone. And that's what happened, people. The slaves were gone. They went on a jaywalk, eh? They went on a jaywalk, eh? It's a good name for the guys, a jaywalker. You know, it's a perfect name. It's a name full of honor. Very intelligent, you know. It's in their book, you know. If you take up the sword, you'll die by the sword. And okay, they stuck to it, eh? So let's not call it the diaspora anymore, but rather something like jaywalkers went on a jaywalk, not wanting to cross the Roman pedestrian zebra crossing. And nowadays, you know, which you can see here, nowadays people have a camping car and LED lamps. But in the old days, it looked like this, taking candles with them to see in the dark. Here you see, none of them wants to stand on the zebra, like, I did it my way. And here, after the ferret here, and the Lord Walter de Rothschild, Baron de Rothschild, the second author, and this is the first author, there's also the third author of the Balfour Declaration. Here it says, Leo Amery. So, also the first Lord of the Admiralty, Leopold Amery, was entitled to rule over Judea, then called Palestine. Leo Amery bears the name America in Demotic, A for big or pregnant, Me for pyramid, and Re for the sun, meaning in Pharaonic the reincarnation of the big pyramid of the sun. Yeah, A-Me-Ri, like in America. Look, and Leo Amery, they're all a bunch of pharaohs. He wrote a book, My Political Life, in a octagon. There's nothing by coincidence, people. All your accidentalists, who don't believe in conspiracies, who don't like conspiracy theorists, well, I call you accidentalists. So it means his political life was being led by the octagon. That's why he puts an octagon around it. And underneath here it says the unforgiving years. Well, you can't read it, but I promise you that's what it says. So they're all into secret societies. You don't know anything about it. The hidden hand, it's all secret. You know, that's you don't know what's going on. It's all based upon a lie, which is their first weapon. So his political life was completely led by the octagon of the Knights Templars, and he was in the army. He was the first Lord of the Admiralty, you know, octagon, the Admiralty. And the fourth author of the Balfour Declaration was Viscount Alfred Milner. All four of them are Pharaoh's nobility, splitting up the world amongst themselves, as if it were a game of Monopoly. Only problem, how do we bring the wetbacks back, those jaywalker runaway slaves? We can't have an empire without any slaves. How are we going to do this, eh? So you see a Viscount, and apparently he was also a Baron. I don't know how they do it, being a Baron and a Viscount. And I guess some other people don't like him very much either. It says here, Demon Chief of the 7 Deadly Sins. This one was a very dangerous one, all of them. So here he's standing with the hidden hand, you know, so, oh, he must have been a Order of the Garter as well. So, well, let's go and have a look, shall we now? He's in South Africa, you know, killing, murdering 28,000 innocent white Christian South African children. So again, you know, you Nubians and also Indians, you know, how come, you know, the white man is being murdered everywhere and in concentration camps, used as slaves? How come? I mean, who's doing it if the white man himself is the slave and being murdered and in concentration camp? So who's doing it, eh? Yeah, but you probably don't want to think about that, eh? Because it's so much easier to say the white man did it and go and cry, or the jaywalkers did it, you know, instead of do some good old real profoundly thinking about who really done it. So here, Alfred Milner, the first Viscount Milner, where you can fill up a whole 5-hour documentary or 10-hour documentary only about this guy and his crimes. I can tell you that. He also has ancestry from the Grand Duchy of Hesse, who were all in the Nazis, as I shown you in the other film. The Royal House of Hesse. You know, probably also Rudolf Hess, part of that. Eh? It's not known, but look, he was in Southern Africa. Well, all the crimes he did there. Eh? Ah, there it is. Look, well, that's what I was looking for. Let's have a look. There we go. So, see, Order of the Garter, Oniswaki Malipans. So that's why he's keeping his hand under his jacket, as we just saw before. So this is, of course, a pyramid. You know, probably the capstone in gold. It is gold. With a deer and a capstone. Well, how does that fit together? Or maybe this is the square, and here you got the compass, you know, like it should be a bit higher. What these things here, I have not a clue. Weird things. There are 7 of these things, the holy number of the pyramid, which is a concept of 3 and 4. So it does say in a way, square and compass. And it says also all about his time. Oh, he was in the Afrikaner Bond. The Afrikaner Bond. There was the Freemasons in South Africa who sold out South Africa to the Zulus, for instance, you know, who were not even the first persons in South Africa, you know. But okay, that's also another story. I already explained that in a couple of videos on my older channels, which they took away. So-called anti-imperialist political party, the Afrikaner Bond. Well, forget it. Forget it. Yeah. And it also says here, yeah, he was in Transvaal, the Second Boer War. Wow. All the crimes this guy did, eh? Mm. Oh, after the war, he became a businessman here in South Africa. You know, he had some good contacts with Cecil Rhodes and all that. Rhodesia. So it's all about, you know, making a lot of money and to protect all the money and the wealth so they don't have to work a single day, and neither do their children and their grandchildren and all the descendants afterwards, you know. To protect it, they have to lie and lie and lie. Use the newspapers, use the media, you know, to keep us under control, you know, to protect all their wealth. They are in politics, here it says. They are in politics, they're in business, they are in wars, they are in secret societies, and they're killing us by the millions. Right? And there are no jaywalkers, people. This is the aristocracy. It's of Pharaoh. They're all pharaohs. It was there again, the Doullens Conference. Well, it's the next war he's in. Oh, the First World War. Also a secret gathering here. Yeah, Lord Milner, he's with Winston Churchill here. Well, they knew each other, of course, from South Africa. You know, how they were, just like Prince Harry, do some good old fox hunting in South Africa, eh? Children foxes, white South African children foxes being chased down by the nobility, eh? Well, okay, well, I can go on for hours about it. Well, there he is. The first Viscount Milner of the KGB. Okay, well, that makes sense. A High Commissioner for Southern Africa, arriving in the Cape in May 1897. So this was like a local king over the South Africans, eh? A local pharaoh. So this Viscount Milner, he also played a big role in the murder of Boer children in British-made concentration camps. These are the ones responsible for it all. The Killer Kings and their Freemason political order of the lie. Here, look at this, Theodore Herzl Lodge. And therefore, it is no wonder that there are Freemason lodges in Israel by the name of Theodor Herzl, the guy who organized the first Zionist Congress in 1897 in Basel, Switzerland. Only 20 years, and I repeat, only 20 years before the Balfour Declaration. The Freemasons would never call one of their lodges after a non-Freemason. So this means that Theodor Herzl was a Freemason, for 100% sure, and working for Pharaoh's nobility, and probably also one of them, to get those damn runaway slaves back to where they belong. This is a statement by Theodor Herzl. If whole branches of jaywalkers must be destroyed, it is worth it, as long as a jaywalker state in Palestine is created. So this cold-hearted statement of the Freemason Theodor Herzl can be interpreted in two ways. But as Zionism was too big an organization organized by the British high nobility, it must therefore be assumed that it's a cold-hearted statement by that part of Pharaoh's nobility who were lawfully entitled to own and rule over that chunk of the world where the original slaves had left, and for which political endeavor the death of a few jaywalker slaves is just some collateral damage in the eyes of Pharaoh's geopolitical monopoly. So finally, in 1948, the British nobility founded the state of Israel, as they finally had their runaway slaves back. Or does anyone here believes that the all-powerful British Empire, ruled by Pharaoh's nobility, just gave Palestine away to them jaywalkers, just like that, and all for free, in 1948? And in the end, the whole thing got covered up by a layer of religious hocus-pocus with a magical Freemason wand, like in the Harry Potter film, that the invisible entity in the sky made it all happen. My question is, then why going through all these troubles to make it all happen? If Harry Potter's magic wand could have done the trick right away. So the foundation of Israel was man-made, or rather Pharaoh-made, with their lions, their crowns, and their castles. Here you can see a British Palestinian passport with a Templar cross and the unicorn, the Order of the Garter, the lion and the crown. So it's quite clear through this passport that the crown, Pharaoh, the nobility, and the Order of the Garter with their Freemasons were ruling over Palestine, and they are still ruling over Israel today. And just as in Australia now, with all the crimes against the people going on by the servants of the crown in their worldwide blue army uniforms, also in Palestine there was this blue worldwide army, the British Palestine Police Association, under the Order of the Garter here in blue. This represents the Order of the Garter from 1920 to 1948, and it says, "A job well done." A job well done, terrorizing the people over the whole bloody world. And we can see it happening today, eh? A job well done. So here it says, from 1917 to 1948, going deeper with Britain in Palestine. Oh, that's what I just did. I went deeper with Britain in Palestine. And don't be so stubborn with each other, you know. These are the masters, and they're not the white race either. It's Pharaoh. Wake up, people. Mystical happenings exist, though. Like when I received the name Giureh as the name of my channel here, which was the name of my channel I made 10 years ago, and which got deleted like 5 years ago, which happened in a French castle and coming out of the void with absolutely nobody around, for which during the 30 years ago when it happened, I have found no other historical reference other than in the name of Giureh, of Simon bar Giureh, exactly like Giureh, the name of my channel, who apparently was a Gentile and led the jaywalkers into the first anti-Roman uprising in the year 70. So here you can see it, Giureh. It's like Giureh. Giureh, Giureh. I've never found any other word in these last 30 years since it happened so similar than this one. So here you find him in Rome, here, Simone di Giureh, on a stone plate in Rome, where they have a lot of all the slaves, all the slave uprisings of of all the peoples who wanted to free themselves of the Romans, where they got murdered in Rome. They got, you know, tortured and dragged in the streets, you know. And here it says decapitato, decapitated. And he stands together with Vercingetorix, also decapitato. And Vercingetorix in the year 49 before Christ, and Di Giureh in 70 after Christ, in the year 70. And Vercingetorix was the leader of the Gauls in France, in nowadays France. and who was also murdered. The Romans cut out his eyes, and then they put him in a cage for I don't know how much time, and then dragged him in the street, or the whole cage, is to show it to the people. And Simon bar Giureh, like here Giureh, the word Giureh, just like Giureh, it means Simon, the son of strength. So Giureh or Giureh, it means strength, or Simon the strong one. And he was also apparently a non-jaywalker, a so-called Gentile. And the guy who taught the jaywalkers how to become a wetback and cross the Rio Grande, officially called the diaspora, and leave the place to continue living somewhere else. We're all in a terrible fight for life or death now, in which the physical death of the entire human race after Pharaoh's bug war agenda is worse than one's own personal death. So don't be afraid to do what you need to do to save our children from these lying creatures, because there are so many testimonies now in the internet about life after death, like this fantastic Netflix documentary called Surviving Death, and many other documentaries on the subject, which existed vividly in the belief system of the ancients, taken away from us by these Romans. So we all believe Pharaoh's hopelessly useless 10 Commandments now, and absolutely useless in this nasty situation we're in today. The biggest reward after is only for the brave at heart, who withstood the tyranny in total engagement towards the enemy.